Imagine getting a letter in the post, no warning, no phone call beforehand, just a fine, maybe two, maybe three, all from journeys you made in the last few weeks thinking you were doing absolutely nothing wrong. It is happening to drivers all across the UK right now, not to reckless people, not to people who ignored the rules on purpose, to ordinary, careful drivers who simply did not know that the rules had changed underneath them. And here is the thing that makes 2026 different from any previous year. The systems catching these drivers are not police officers standing at the roadside waiting to spot something. They are cameras, databases, algorithms running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, reading number plates, cross-referencing records, and flagging violations automatically before you have even finished your journey. There is no moment where someone looks at your situation and decides to give you the benefit of the doubt. There is no warning letter before the fine. The system just processes, and the consequence arrives. Think about that for a second. You could be driving right now, tax paid, insurance active, MOT done, and still be one database glitch, one expired exemption, one rule you had not heard about away from a fine landing on your doormat. That is not a scare tactic. That is the reality of UK roads in 2026. And the changes that created this reality did not arrive with fanfare. Some came in on the 1st of January while most of us were still recovering from New Year. One major change happened on Christmas Day. Yes, Christmas Day, when the absolute last thing anyone was thinking about was their congestion charge account. Others are still being decided right now in government consultations that close within weeks. If those consultations go the way the evidence points, the rules will look different again by the end of this year. So here is what this video is going to do. We are going to go through every single change, the ones already live, the ones arriving later in 2026, and the ones being decided right now. We are going to be specific, we are going to be clear, and at the end, we are going to give you a precise action list of what to do before your next drive. Because the drivers who are going to be absolutely fine in 2026 are not the ones with the best cars or the most experience. They are the ones who know what changed and acted on it before something forced them to. Let us start with the change that has already caught out thousands of people who made perfectly reasonable financial decisions based on rules that quietly disappeared. If you drive into central London, or if you used to drive in with an electric vehicle assuming it was free, go and check your account the moment this video ends. From January 2026, the daily congestion charge rose from £15 to £18 if you pay on the day. Pay within 3 days after your journey, and it now costs £21. For a daily London commuter 5 days a week, that is over £4,000 a year in congestion charges alone. Nearly £800 more than just 12 months ago, from this one change. But the change that truly blindsided people is the end of the electric vehicle exemption. For years, EV drivers entered central London completely free. Transport for London promoted it. Car manufacturers used it as a selling point. Thousands of people chose to go electric specifically because of it. That exemption ended on Christmas Day 2025. Not a gradual phase-out. Christmas Day. The one day when absolutely nobody was checking road law updates. From January 2026, electric vehicle drivers now pay around £13.50 per day. Still cheaper than petrol or diesel, but a completely different world from free. The dangerous situation this created is simple. If you drove into London in early January in your EV and assumed you were not being charged, the charges accumulated, the deadlines passed, fines were added, all of it happening silently while you carried on with your life. If this could be you, go to the Transport for London website right now, check your journey history, check for outstanding charges, and pay immediately. Fines only grow the longer they remain unpaid. And London is not the only city where this matters. Birmingham, Bath, Bradford, Portsmouth, Newcastle, Sheffield, all have clean air zones with their own exemption rules that have been tightening. Do not assume what applied to your vehicle last year still applies today. 5 minutes of checking could save you hundreds of pounds. Now let us talk about something happening silently on virtually every major road in the country. You have seen the cameras on motorway gantries, above traffic lights, on poles at the sides of roads. Most people assume they were speed cameras or traffic monitors. In 2026, many of them are something far more powerful. Automated number plate recognition, ANPR, is being used more aggressively than at any point in UK enforcement history. And the change that matters is not how many cameras there are. It is what happens the instant your plate is read. The moment a camera captures your registration, it is cross-referenced against two national databases simultaneously, the DVLA Vehicle Database and the Motor Insurance Database. The entire process takes a fraction of a second. In that fraction of a second, the system knows whether your vehicle is taxed, whether it has a valid MOT, and whether there is active insurance registered to your specific registration number. If everything checks out, nothing happens. You drive on without knowing the check occurred. But if anything does not match, the system flags it automatically. No human needs to review it. A nearby police unit can be notified immediately. Here is the part that catches people who genuinely believe they are doing everything right. When you switch insurance providers, there is sometimes a gap of a day or two before your new policy appears on the Motor Insurance Database under your specific registration. During that gap, your vehicle shows as uninsured, even though you have a valid policy document in your inbox. ANPR cameras do not know about the gap. They only see what the database says at the exact moment your plate passes the camera. The consequences are serious. Fines starting at £100. Vehicles seized at the roadside on the spot. And if you were involved in an accident during a period flagged as uninsured, even an accident that was completely not your fault, you could be treated as an uninsured driver for the entire claim. The fix takes 5 minutes. Search your registration on the government's free vehicle checker. It shows your MOT expiry date and tax status instantly. Then call your insurer and confirm your exact vehicle registration is currently showing on the Motor Insurance Database. Not just that your policy is active, that your specific vehicle is on the database. In a world where cameras read your plate every few miles of every journey, these are no longer optional checks. They are basic survival on UK roads in 2026. Here is one that sounds so obvious, most drivers would scroll straight past it. Seatbelts. You know you have to wear one. But what has changed in 2026 is how this rule is being enforced. And the technology supporting that enforcement is more capable than most people realize. AI-assisted cameras can now detect in real time whether a driver or front passenger is wearing a seatbelt. The technology has been trialed across multiple UK regions and is being deployed more broadly through 2026. Detection is no longer dependent on a police officer physically seeing the violation. It can now be automated, continuous, and running at scale. The shift in 2026 is towards immediate fines issued faster and more consistently. The chance of getting a friendly warning rather than a fixed penalty is shrinking fast. But the highest stakes here involve children in the vehicle. If you are driving with children, you as the driver are legally responsible for ensuring every child is wearing a seatbelt or correctly secured in an appropriate child seat. Not the child, not another passenger. You, personally, legally. Fines for failing to ensure children are secured can reach £500 per child. And beyond the fine, an unsecured child in a collision at even moderate speed faces catastrophic injury that a correctly fitted seat would prevent or dramatically reduce. The fine is the legal consequence. The real consequence of getting this wrong is something no parent wants to imagine. In 2026, cameras are being deployed specifically around schools during drop-off and collection times, and around community areas. Enforcement here is a stated priority this year. One more thing on child seats. The rules specify which seat is appropriate based on your child's current age and weight, not the age and weight when you bought the seat. If your child has grown significantly in the past year, check the current guidance and confirm the seat you are using still meets the legal requirement. Every journey, every seat, every child, every time, now something that is actively being decided by the government right now, and whose outcome could affect every driver over 70 in the UK. Mandatory eyesight tests for older drivers. The Department for Transport launched a formal public consultation on the 7th of January 2026. It runs until the 31st of March. It is live right now. The proposal is straightforward. Drivers aged 70 and above, when renewing their license every 3 years, would be required to pass a professional eyesight test with a qualified optician, not a self-declaration form, an actual examination. Currently, the system relies entirely on self-declaration. Drivers over 70 sign to confirm they believe their vision meets the legal standard. No professional check, no independent verification. The problem is that the conditions most commonly causing age-related vision decline, cataracts, glaucoma, macular degeneration, develop gradually over months and years. A person can lose significant visual capability without noticing because the change is slow and the brain compensates. A driver who genuinely believes their eyesight is fine may, by objective professional measurement, no longer meet the legal driving standard. They are not lying. They simply cannot accurately assess something that changed too slowly to feel different. This is not yet law, but the direction is clear. Several European countries have required these checks for years. The UK is catching up. If you are 70 or over, do not wait for a law to force this. Book a voluntary eye test now. If your vision is fine, you have professional documentation and peace of mind. If there is a concern, you can address it on your own terms. And if you have an older relative who drives, this conversation is worth having gently, not to threaten their independence, but because their safety and everyone else is on the road with them genuinely matters. Here is one that has been debated for 30 years and is now closer to happening than ever before. The drink driving limit in England and Wales may be about to fall significantly. The current limit has been 80 milligrams of alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood since 1967, nearly 60 years. 2 generations of drivers grew up treating that number as the permanent line between legal and illegal. The active proposal in the government's road safety consultation, running right now, is to reduce it to 50 milligrams, the same level Scotland moved to in 2014, the same level used across most of Europe. At 80 milligrams, many people believed they could have 1 or sometimes 2 drinks and remain legal. At 50 milligrams, that margin disappears for most people. A single standard drink, 1 pint, 1 glass of wine, could push a lighter person or someone who metabolizes slowly over the new limit. And here's the truth: road safety research has documented for years. Alcohol impairs reaction time, judgment, and decision-making at levels well below even the proposed new limit. The 80 milligram line was never evidence-based. It was a political compromise made in 1967. The science moved on from it a long time ago. Scotland reduced its limit in 2014. The data that followed showed meaningful improvements in drink-drive casualties. The direction was clear and consistent. This change has not been confirmed, but whether it passes or not, the answer for any driver is the same. If you are driving, do not drink. Not a small one, not half, nothing. Make that decision before you leave the house, not in the moment when someone has offered you a glass and the car is outside. The planning is everything. Closely connected to this is a drug driving change that affects more people than you might initially think. Police are expected to gain wider powers in 2026 to use saliva-based roadside tests as standalone evidence in drug driving cases. Previously, a positive roadside test usually required a follow-up blood test before prosecution. The new approach allows the roadside result to stand as primary evidence, making detection faster and consequences more direct. Drug driving carries a minimum 12-month ban, an unlimited fine, up to 6 months in prison, and a criminal record on your license for 11 years. But here is the part concerning people who have never used an illegal substance. Certain prescribed medications, legal drugs given by your doctor and taken exactly as directed, can show up in a roadside saliva test. Opioid-based painkillers, some benzodiazepines for anxiety or sleep, certain antihistamines causing drowsiness. UK law sets specific thresholds for some of these medications when it comes to driving. The law makes allowances for prescribed medication taken as directed, but being stopped, testing positive, and needing to explain your prescription at the roadside without preparation is not a situation anyone wants to be in. The simple step is a conversation with your GP or pharmacist. Ask directly. Does what I am taking affect my legal ability to drive? Should I carry documentation? 15 minutes of conversation now versus a very stressful roadside encounter later. Electric vehicles deserve an honest conversation in 2026 because the financial picture has shifted and some EV owners are still operating on assumptions that are now out of date. Road tax first. Electric vehicles registered from the 1st of April 2025 onwards are no longer exempt from vehicle excise duty. From the second year of ownership, EV drivers pay the standard rate, currently £195 per year. The bigger hit for many owners is the luxury car supplement. If your electric vehicle had a list price above £50,000 when new, and many popular mainstream EVs do cross that threshold, you now face an additional annual charge on top of the standard rate. That supplement adds over £500 per year for the first 5 years of ownership. So for an EV owner in that bracket, road tax has moved from zero to potentially close to £700 per year, a real number that arrived with relatively little warning. Add the end of the London congestion exemption on top. The financial case for electric vehicle ownership in 2026 looks genuinely different from 2022 or 2023, when many people made their purchase decision. EVs still have genuine advantages. Home charging costs per mile remain lower than petrol or diesel. Maintenance costs are generally lower. The long-term running cost can still be competitive for many drivers. But the calculation must use today's numbers, not numbers from 3 years ago, not numbers in a brochure that has not been updated. If you already own an EV, know exactly what you now owe. Check your registration date, check your vehicle's list price, confirm what applies to you. There is a change arriving at petrol pumps in September that every driver using liquid fuel should factor into plans right now. Since 2022, a 5 pence per liter cut in fuel duty has been keeping prices slightly lower than they would otherwise be. It was introduced as temporary cost of living relief. It was frozen budget after budget because governments found it politically difficult to reverse. That reversal is coming from September 2026. For an average driver covering 10,000 miles a year, this adds approximately £50 annually to fuel costs. For someone covering 20,000 miles, closer to £100. For tradespeople and small business owners covering 30 or 40,000 miles, the impact hits operating costs directly. Plan for it now. Build in higher fuel costs from September. Update business projections. If you are making a vehicle purchase decision, calculate running costs at the post-September fuel price, not the current one. For families with a young person currently learning to drive, there is a major change to the test booking system happening this spring. Under the old system, driving instructors could book test slots on behalf of their learner students. Many use this strategically, bulk booking slots in quieter areas and swapping them around to get students tested sooner. The result was a deeply unfair two-tier system where learners with well-connected instructors got tests much faster while others waited 6 months or more. That ends from spring 2026. Instructors can no longer book tests on behalf of students at all. Only the learner themselves can book and manage their own test. Learners are limited to 2 changes per booking. Location changes must be to a nearby center. The practical consequence is immediate. If a learner in your household has been relying on their instructor to handle the booking, that is no longer possible. The test will not be booked unless the learner does it themselves. Sit down with them this week. Help them register directly with the DVSA. Help them understand the new restrictions. Spring 2026 is now. Waiting is not a strategy when slots fill up and changes are limited. Also on learner drivers, and this change is genuinely worth celebrating. From 2026, the driving theory test now includes questions on first aid, specifically CPR and the use of automated external defibrillators. Road traffic collisions are one of the most common situations where bystander first aid genuinely makes the difference. Paramedic response times in the UK average 8 to 15 minutes. For someone in cardiac arrest, those minutes are the entire margin. Bystander CPR consistently saves lives in that window, even when delivered by a frightened person who is not medically trained. Every person who passes the theory test from 2026 onwards will have had to demonstrate foundational knowledge of this. Hundreds of thousands of new drivers every year, building a population of people on UK roads who know what to do in those first critical minutes. The DVSA has updated its official study materials. If you or a family member is preparing for the theory test, make sure this section gets proper revision time. And this knowledge is useful to everyone. The British Heart Foundation has free online guidance for hands-only CPR that takes 15 minutes to go through. You do not need a formal course. Just look at it once, so that if the moment ever comes, you do not freeze. One final change that is not new, but is being pushed back into focus in 2026 for a specific reason. The address on your driving license must be current. If you move house, you are legally required to update it with the DVLA. Failing to do so can result in a fine of up to £1,000. The reason this is back in focus is the rollout of digital driving licenses through the government's Gov.uk Wallet app, launched in pilot form in late 2025. Physical licenses remain valid, but the digital rollout is accompanied by a push for accurate records, which means the DVLA is paying more attention to whether details on file match reality. If you have moved at any point in recent years and have not updated your license, you are technically in breach right now. The fix takes 5 minutes on the DVLA website. £1,000 is not a reasonable price for 5 minutes of procrastination. Here is your action list before your next drive. Check your MOT expiry date on the government vehicle checker. Free, 60 seconds. Search by number plate. Expired, do not drive. Due within a month, book immediately. Check your road tax status the same way. Lapsed even by a day. Pay it now. Call your insurer and confirm your specific vehicle registration is showing on the motor insurance database. Not just that your policy is active, that your exact vehicle is on the database. If you drive into London or any clean air zone, log in, check for outstanding charges, set up auto pay. If you own an EV, confirm what road tax rate applies to your registration date and list price. If you are 70 or over, book a voluntary eye test. Get professional confirmation before any legal requirement makes it a more pressured situation. If you have a learner in your family, help them register with the DVSA directly this week. Check the address on your driving license. Moved and not updated. DVLA website, 5 minutes today. If you plan to drive, do not drink. Decide that before you leave the house. 9 things. Most take under 5 minutes. Every single one protects you from a consequence that in 2026 arrives faster, more automatically, and with less warning than ever before. The drivers who will be completely fine are the ones who stay informed and act on it before something forces them to. That is exactly what this channel is here to help you do. If this video was useful, share it with someone who drives. Most people will not find this information until something has already gone wrong. Like the video if it helped. Subscribe so you do not miss the next update. Drop a comment below with your questions or topics you want covered next. Stay informed, stay legal, stay safe,